and
Hello.
welcome to the last in the series, isn't it, of It's a B2B Comms Thing Live. I'm your host today. I am Abbas, and I am from Abbas Marketing Consultancy. That's what I do. And I'm joined today by my usual co-hosts. So do you want to introduce yourselves? Emma?
Hi, I'm Emma Drake, and I'm a communication consultant working within the built environment sector.
And hello, I'm Stacey Meadwell. I'm a former property journalist now working directly with B2B businesses in the built environment sector.
Fantastic. So if you are watching this live, hopefully, do leave us a comment saying, I guess, where you're from, if you're sweating like we are, because it's quite hot today. And it really does help us to know that you're actually out there because, yes, we have broadcasted before to nobody. It has happened in one of our kind of many mishaps that's happened.
Oh.
And if you're watching us on replay, please use #replay to show us you're there too, because you're important as much as everyone else. And it's also lovely to know you're there as well. So today we have quite a meaty topic, which is whether social media is a waste of time for B2B businesses. Now, this one it is a massive one, and it's something we've actually talked about a lot, isn't it? So,
yeah.
And it's kind of, I guess it's been spurred on by observations, but also watching some of these programs like the Instagram effect, where it's kind of quite obvious that social media platforms are out to make a ton of money. And that's really what they're focused on. So all the things that they were good for in the past few years, not necessarily working as well. So that's kind of what we're going to be looking at social media. And I guess whether or not, you can still make an impact in what's going on with it. The format is going to be us three, as usual, answering 3 questions in just 15 minutes. And then we'll throw open the doors for Q&A. So if you do have a question as we're talking, please do leave a comment or your questions on LinkedIn. That's the word. And then we will respond to those. I can't talk. I'm sorry.
It's also not lost on us that we are talking about whether it's a good idea whilst broadcasting on social media. Just sort of
personally, I like the irony.
Yeah, I like the irony too.
I'll point it out before
we're better
anyone
to
else
talk about it and say this is a load of rubbish. So let's dive in anyway with question 1, and we do have a few people watching.
Yay!
Perfect. Yay! I can see comments.
I'm on the speaker link today, so I can't see the comments. So you'll have to let me know if there's questions. I can't see them today.
We will read them out to you. Stacey will read them out.
Thanks.
Yes.
Okay, so is social media all it's cracked up to be? Let's kick off with you, Emma. Is it?
Oh, okay. Is it? Yes, no, or maybe. I'm going to err on the side of no, but I think there's a couple of reasons why, and sort of my personal experience. You've touched on it a little bit, really. I think that often there's no people don't get a lot from it because they're perhaps not using it well or effectively, and I think that is one thing. But I think the other thing is, on the algorithm front, it makes no sense. And an algorithm is plural as well. It is multiple layers of things. It's not one thing. You can go, I have solved it. The algorithm. And there was a really interesting infographic on that program that you've referenced. We will drop the link to this program if you haven't seen it. It was BBC 2, I think.
BBC 3. It's called the Instagram effect.
Sorry, it was much more highbrow than BBC 2. It was BBC 3, and it was about the rise and fall of Instagram, basically over a series of 3 programs. And there was a part on it where it had an infographic about the algorithm. An infographic about an algorithm. I sound so dull. But it was really super interesting because it was the first time I think that I sort of looked and went, yeah, this is crazy. This is like multiple morphing layers working together and guessing and learning as it's going. So anyone who tells you that they understand the algorithm of a social media platform is lying. So you're up against that from a, that's base level. You're not really going to know what's going on because it's morphing and changing continually. So I think that's a huge challenge. I had a post on LinkedIn that had, multiple likes and shares, got under 300 impressions. I've had a post that had 2 likes, got way over 2,000. Go figure. It's really, really hard, and I think it is. Is it always cracked up to be? I think it can be really useful, and I know we're going to come on to some other topics, but I think you do really need to have a plan because it can be just really tricky otherwise.
Stacey?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Emma said. You are at the whim of the algorithm. Some platforms are very obviously pay to play, and they're promoting the content that has been paid for, and you just have to go in with your eyes open. There's no silver bullet with social media, but I think it's whether it's a waste of time depends on your reason for being on it. And I think sometimes it's easy to get focused in on specifics like getting business leads, but actually there's a whole load of other value that you can get from social media, like, networking, the personal visibility, the knowledge and learning that you can get from social media. So I think, is it a waste of time? It depends on your goals. Why you are on there. Is it actually giving you return on your time invested? And I know we're going to talk about how whether you're getting value in a moment. So yeah, I think it depends. I think go in with your eyes open and go in with goals.
I mean, for me, I think I'm similarly sitting on that fence, as it were. It's kind of a yes and a no. I think, as we were saying just before we came on air, we were saying that basically, like, it was easier to get followers a few years ago. You know what I mean? It was easier to get more traction a few years ago, and it's getting harder and harder because of the pay to play, but also more people are using it. So I think there's this whole thing of it takes more to be successful. And I think that's what we've all got to deal with, is that, it's there, it's free, there's loads of great stuff, but it's going to take more traction, or you need to add paid, or you need to do something. So I think it's changing. And I think to make an impact, you probably need to change how you approach it. I think that's my main thing.
I think for businesses, I'll just add, I think have paid is almost becoming a fundamental, actually. I think you can't really have an organic strategy without a paid strategy if you're a business. If you're an individual, it's slightly different, I think. I don't know whether you agree or disagree, but I think it has to be part of the strategy.
Brilliant. And question 2.
Which is me. How do you know you are getting value? So start with you, Io.
I think for me, in terms of getting value from social, I guess it's having a clear understanding why you're there. Are you there for research? Are you there for leads? Are you there for connections? Are you there for visibility? And kind of having that in the back of your mind and make that drive, I guess, how you use the platform. And I guess not everything actually has to be visible in terms of posts. You could literally have a strategy of, I just want to connect with the main thought leaders in the built environment. And that's all you do, is you actually engage. You literally go around and you just comment and you don't even post. So I think it's understanding why it is that you're there so that you get the most value out of it. And otherwise, let's be honest, it's easy just to waste a shed load of time on social media and just be like, oh my God, I've been here for 2 hours and look, I've just watched this duck. And it's like, so I do it, don't worry. I know Emma was saying before that we should all share like our screen time. I was like, no.
I think we should. Are you saying?
There's a reason I don't, because I know I'm just a bit like, but also I think numbers aren't everything. I'm going to kind of slightly go against what I normally say, because I think there's this whole kind of anecdotal thing. So, for example, I've been to a number of events in the last couple of weeks. A number of people have come up to me and gone, "Hi, Io," because they know me from online. I don't know who they are. But they've either seen comments of other people say on my stuff and things like that. So it actually means that they know, like, and trust me before I've even met them. Does that make sense? So
yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Fast tracking that stuff. So that's not going to show up on a metric because they might not even be my followers. So I kind of think you've also got to sit there and just factor that stuff in, because that really does happen. And it's like, actually, it is helping me, but I couldn't sit there and go, well, that post only got 300 views. Well, actually, no, there might be a few more people who've seen it, or they've talked about it, or their boss has shared it with them. So, and that's not going to show up on any metric. So numbers aren't everything, I think, is my other thing. I'll stop there.
Emma.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you said, actually. And I think the point is you do have to be genuine as well. You know, the algorithms know if you're not being genuine, if you're just posting with no strategy and, you know, you're not testing in any way, then probably stop, because you're not getting any value from it. And just going back to your events point, you know, you can have a concerted effort around a particular time, and events are a really good way. I did this recently, and actually for a sort of fairly unknown body, you know, we increased quite a lot of page followers through social media throughout the event. You know, that was a great goal, because that was one of our aims. So it can still be really useful in an organic way when you've got all the tools available to you and you make it a very purposeful. I think it can be. But basically what you've said, you know, is your audience there? why are you there and what's your goal, and make sure that you're doing things with a reason. I mean, I changed my strategy 4 or 5 months ago, from doing lots of posting about lots of different things to actually just, I think I said to you guys, didn't I? I'm just doing much more personal posts, more about people getting to know me, more about people, and when I talk to people now, they want to talk to me about swimming, or they want to talk to me about my dog, or people do business with people, not brands. And I think it's really helped me get to know me as a person, because there's lots of people do what I do. So talking about what I do could be a bit dull, but talking about, a swim I did, or how ridiculously dumb my dog is actually quite a good leveler. So it's really, I think people forget that in business, you still need to have some personality in there as well, and it be genuine.
No, I completely agree with both of you. And I mean, I had an experience. I was at a round table this morning, and someone came up to me and said that they really liked what I was posting on LinkedIn, and that they follow what I post. And as far as I'm aware, we, and that's, it's a nice validation, but it's just showing that it is actually working. That what I'm doing is working, that people are noticing it and they appreciate it, which is obviously the really important thing. But I think it's, and there's other things as well. I've been asked to be a guest on 2 different podcasts as a result of being on LinkedIn. Would I have got those? Would I have been asked to be a guest on LinkedIn if I was on a podcast, if I wasn't on LinkedIn and I wasn't writing about things that they were interested in me coming onto their podcast and talking about? And I think with the goals, so it's thinking about those sort of less tangible goals, as well as the numbers, and as well as the kind of, how many leads have you got, how many of those are converted, and how many followers, and all of those, some of the, in ignoring the vanity metrics. But I think it's also about being realistic. Rob Mayhew did a brilliant TikTok, I don't know if it was this week or last week, about doing a presentation to a client who wanted to organically grow their followers on Instagram by 30,000 in a ridiculously short period of time. And the talk was all about him trying to persuade, trying to basically say, you're not going to do that. It's impossible. The metrics are all going down. So I think it's also about being realistic about your goals and making sure that you put in the time and the effort to deliver those goals. Don't just kind of give it, think, oh, I've posted twice and I haven't got 10,000 followers, therefore it's all been a monumental failure.
The problem is as well with that sort of approach as well, is that it is tiring. And what happens is comms people, is it's tiring, so we feel deflated, and it can affect our overall kind of sense of purpose, that we're not doing very well, or and I think that's a genuine thing. You can spend a lot of time and effort on it and feel like you're not getting anywhere. That can be really demoralizing.
I think the other thing is we've been posting for a long time, so it's consistency. It's not a fly by night. It's suddenly going to change. It's like think about it. Since like lockdown, we've been posting regularly for like over 2 years. And it builds, and that's the thing. It's that consistency, and it's a long-term play. Okay, on to our final question, which is you, Emma.
Yep, that's fine. So what will you be doing differently, you two, going forward, you think, as a result of our collective findings today?
We hate social media.
Let's go with you first.
Fantastic, since I deleted all my answers just earlier. What would I be doing differently? I think the main things for me are trying some of the newer features on platforms and using that as a strategy. So like doing the lives, like doing LinkedIn newsletters, which actually have really good reach at the moment. So I think that kind of thing of, we know that the social media platforms are favoring their newer concepts, right? Even though they're all trying to be the same, which is always quite weird as well. But so prioritizing and trying those new things out, seeing how they impact and what reach they have. I think that's a good strategy in terms of, I like new stuff and learning new things. That kind of works for me. So I think that's what I'm doing. And as well as, I guess, just keeping going. So even if it's not posting every day, I'll be like 3 times a week or whatever. I think it's just trying to keep going and not burning out. That's kind of me going forward. Not the most exciting answer.
What other stuff are you doing, Io? Are you favouring other stuff over social media then, do you think?
Do you know what? I'm doing more like going out and actually meeting people face to face, like, as we can now. So I'm doing more of that, which is definitely different conversations. and actually having those types of conversations. But I'm also having like more coffees and like just direct conversations with people, because I think that's ultimately where work is going to come from. And you know, social media is there as a kind of piece of noise and consistency for me, but actually it's those direct one-to-ones and going out and talking to people who I know and all of that, which is bringing me work.
Stacey?
Yeah, I agree with Io. I mean, I have on LinkedIn, I have scaled back how frequently I post. I'm still being consistent, but say I've gone from, rather than posting, 5 days a week religiously, I now post 3 or 4 days a week, and I don't beat myself up about it. And it hasn't seemed to have any impact on my stats and the results from it. I think, the other things that I'm doing differently is, like Io said, is trying new things. I'm really interested in the live audio that LinkedIn are going to be rolling out. And depending on kind of what you can do with that, I think that might be quite interesting. I'm experimenting at the moment with using pictures more, and just sort of, because you can get there's some really good free photo libraries, and you get some really nice images. Because I noticed when I was scrolling through my feed, I tend to stop when there's a picture or a video more than if there's a text post. So, I mean, that's just me. Other people, they have different things that stop the scroll. So I'm experimenting with that a bit. So it's about kind of just keeping it fresh and keeping an eye. I want to go back into doing video again a bit more frequently. I've got some ideas for some very short, pithy sort of social videos. But outside of the platform, I've said this before in previous lives, if you've been to a few, that I am definitely going to launch my newsletter and my podcast at some point.
Yeah. We look forward to seeing it in 2025.
Slowly but surely I'll get there. Because I just want the kind of the to have that control and just have reach a different audience. But as Io said, I'm going out and about more and talking to more people. So I think that is another channel. But no, I'm not giving it up. Definitely not giving it up. But I'm just adjusting what I'm doing.
It's a common theme, isn't it? I think with all of us really is being able to go out and about more. And I mean, one of my goals with social media, so on the platform, I use Twitter and LinkedIn. I've always had an issue with Instagram generally. I won't go into that now, but also genuine hatred of Instagram. I'm going to say it. But Twitter and LinkedIn have always been very good to me and work for my business. And one of my goals is podcast listens. I've got podcasts, so getting people to listen to the podcast, getting people onto my email list, and my ultimate goals with some of my social posts. But being more personal, as I said, getting to know me a bit more, who I am, rather than what I do. And same really. Secondly, just working on my networking and also joining things like this. So extending my networks through joining with other people like yourselves, tapping into other networks, looking at partnerships with people to extend my networks. It's amazing how many more, views on bring it back to social media, views on social media you get, and people looking you up because you've been to an event or you've had a collaboration. Absolutely. Or
I think that's it. The partnerships and collaborations, I think, is a key way for growth. I think it's a much more sustainable way, especially so you're connecting with like-minded people who have similar audiences. I do think that's the way forward. Anyway, so we have questions.
We do. Do you want me to manage the questions?
Go on, you go for it.
Okay, so this is from Susie. There we go.
It's still very hard to convince clients they need paid. Any tips?
I would say show them the stats. I mean, the reach stats are there, and the fact that you can create goals specifically to convert. So depending on what their goal is, I don't think the awareness goals are great. So if that's what you're going to use paid for, I would say that's a really hard sell. But if you've got a conversion goal, there's certainly information on platforms that will give you those conversion metrics.
I think the only issue you might have, only because I'm looking at this at the moment for a client, is on kind of, you have to kind of, especially if you're starting from scratch or a low base. Yeah, exactly. But if you're starting from a low base, you might need to build brand for a couple of months and have regular organic. and then building conversions, or else you're not going to get
them there. I agree.
I think there is that kind of, you need to make sure you've got a baseline before you start doing conversions, because I think it's really hard to get people over the line. So I think, I mean, for me, for ads, I kind of say, I'm not an ad specialist. I will go to an ad specialist for you who will work with you, who knows, because ads, again, you have to get them right. And there's all this stuff around privacy and stuff, which is making it harder to target people. So if it is ads, I would work with somebody who specializes in ads, Susie.
It's a really good
just
point.
As a way, yeah, because I think it's harder and harder to make sure you're doing it right.
Specialists, aren't there? So
yeah, there are. There's people that specialize in that. But yeah, cool. For clients though, I'd also say, you know, if it can get them in front of the right people, and you can say, actually, if we do this over 6 months, this is the likelihood of what you're going to receive. I think that's a much more stronger proposition. But it's not as it's going to happen in 2 months play.
Okay. Right, next question from Adam. Thank you, Adam. So, given that sector probably makes a significant difference, how useful do each of you find social media specifically for lead gen? Well, I'll go first if you don't mind. In terms of, I was thinking about this morning actually when I was thinking about what I was going to talk about on here. In terms of kind of cold leads from people I don't know or have no connection with, it's probably fairly low, but because I've been in the industry for about 3 centuries now, I've built up quite a vast network.
And still have launched a podcast.
She hasn't.
Shut up about the podcast. You were going to get invited to the launch, but you're not going to now.
This is never going to happen.
But in terms of those people that I know or have known or know me from my previous job, it's a great way of staying front of mind. And a lot of people contact me via LinkedIn, and they will mention that they follow me on LinkedIn. It'll be people that I know or have known, have met in the past or talked to in the past. And it might have been that I haven't spoken to them for like 5-10 years, but it's just that familiarity. So I think that, it is still really useful from a lead generation in terms of completely something fresh. It's very small, but actually generating leads from connections that I've already built up, and not necessarily from people I've already done work with, but people I've met along the way. I would say it does.
I think it just takes a while, doesn't it? It really does take a while to build momentum. I think
you have to have a specific strategy for cold lead gen if that's your goal. For one thing, I've not experienced it. That's not my goal with LinkedIn. Let's take LinkedIn specifically. But like Stacey said, because of my network and the visibility I have, what tends to happen is the sequences I'm front of mind. Someone gets asked about XYZ and they think of me, and I get an inquiry through LinkedIn. So it's very much a network-based lead gen anyway, which is what the platform is supposed to be. And I know there's lots of sales tools and lots of things you can use. Anecdotally, I've heard lots of people complain about the cold lead gen functions on LinkedIn.
There's so much spam. It's ridiculous.
Lots of spam. I think going back to its heart, it's a networking lead gen tool, and that's how it should be viewed, really.
Okay. Next question, Stacey.
Next question. I'm not going to put it up on the screen because it's quite a long one. Have any of you found a way to factor in the anecdotal effect of social posting? E.g., I saw that post you did but didn't engage, but it was really interesting. This is another one from Susie. Thank you, Susie.
You kind of covered that IO bit, didn't you? With your people coming up to you at events, and if that's what Susie means, and sort of
I guess, but on a client perspective, do you know what I think? To be honest, I think if you've got I know Susie, for example, I know she tracks like metrics for her clients, her architectural clients. So I would probably say the anecdotal feedback, I would just add that as a line, like a free form line, and you just add those in, and then you can reflect on them in the year and say, actually, you went to this, didn't such and such mention that to you? And actually, you can just add that to the conversation when you start your meetings and when you're having discussions about metrics, because I think you want to log that stuff when it does come up, because that's the kind of thing you'd forget. And if you're just looking at numbers, it's like, that's not the true picture.
Absolutely.
Actually, didn't someone mention that to you? So I would actually say add in the anecdotal. And the other thing that I do is that actually, when I've got a new business call, I ask them how they heard of me. and I also log that because that's really useful. Then they go, oh, I was watching this, or such and such referred me, and again that kind of adds to your metrics and that strengthens your case. So I think those are 2 ways you can do it.
Yep, for sure. And you know, so we had an event recently for a client, and the feedback went in the report back to the partner, which was the anecdotal feedback about the awareness we created around the event, you know, and people, although I saw your social posts. I mean, and I know that's, you know, it needs to go in the report. How you use that is different. That's a whole other conversation, but it definitely needs capturing and putting into your metrics as qualitative kind of feedback.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got some comments. Again, it's quite a long one, so I won't put it up on the screen. So Matt said, agreed with Emma, said we've had just as much return on investment on organic posts compared to paid / boosting content, and finding a boost good for brand awareness and drip feeding, whereas organic good content posts can generate engagement / better stats.
It's a minefield.
Yeah,
it is a minefield. That's why I'm like, get someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, there's quite a long, so I'm trying to read, and and then Matt's also said, should we read too much into our competitor activity, or is LinkedIn just creating a driving beast we fall into, like boosting, etc.? What's your experience?
Ooh.
I think if you mean Matt, thanks Matt as well for your question, but if you mean like comparing, you know, or so and so's, like for example, Io's always on social media, she's always on LinkedIn, she's always in my feed, I should be posting more. Yeah, I mean that's just an example. I'm not saying that happens. You should compare yourself brand to brand because your goals will be different, and you know, all of those different things really. And I think it, you know, as I said, it goes back to the algorithm. We don't know what's going on. Somewhere that somebody is showing me Io's post because they want me to think that and post. Who knows? Yeah. We could literally tie ourselves in knots with this. So yeah, we shouldn't fall into traps because of what we're seeing, but we should be testing. If we think we see something that looks like it might work, we should definitely test that.
I would say adapt to, you know, if I you know, look at what other people are doing and think, oh, that's quite a good idea. Can I adapt that so that it's more suitable for me? And, you know, take inspiration rather than going, oh no, they've got like 10,000 likes and I'm not getting, you know. I think if you can get yourself into a really bad headspace if you start doing comparisons like that. But taking a bit of inspiration, then definitely, you know, if I see someone doing something quite interesting, think, could I adapt that to suit what I want to do? Then yeah. So that would be mine. I think that's it for questions, and we're nearly at 1 o'clock. So over to you, Io.
Okay, so I'm just some of the comments. So June has commented, great advice, Io. Hey, thank you, no problems. I'm definitely not going to suddenly dance for the sake of engagement. No, I won't be dancing on Instagram. Are you going to dance on Instagram ever, Emma?
Never.
If only I'd hit the live button a moment early, because we were all dancing along to the music.
We said that, didn't we? We were like, we can get called out. Oh my God. We've got LinkedIn user who I'm not sure who you are, but I think knows me, says, hello, great topic for my new book. So I don't know who that is, but I'm sure I do.
You're welcome.
We got a hi from Paul Smith in London, who I know works at WSP and does the digital. Hi, Paul. We've also got Ruth Taylor, our #1 fan, who's still here. So thank you all for your comments. It's awesome. We're actually going to head off on a summer break. So this is our last, it's a B2B thing live for a while. So if you have any more questions, of course, you can put them in the comments under this in LinkedIn, and we will come back and answer them. And if you want to connect with us, obviously, connect with us on LinkedIn because we're here, and on Instagram for me and Stacey. You're not on Insta, are you? Or are you, Emma?
No.
Well, I'm you know, people won't find me on Instagram because I use a pseudonym and I write about theatre, so it's probably not a place to connect with me if you want to talk to me about worky things, unless you're really into theatre. And then feel free.
If you are into theatre, she does some cool posts, so I will follow her as well. I'm always there going, oh, how do you know all these things are on in London? So that is it from us, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for tuning in today, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your great comments as well. Cheers.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.